The horns almost certainly had a religious significance. We know they were sometimes ritually destroyed. We know that the only effective way to play them is to learn the trick of circular breathing, itself a kind of magical ritualistic thing, as the player never stops blowing, yet never runs out of breath. We know that the cult of the bull was common throughout Europe and remained so for thousands of years. You can use the bronze horns to imitate not only the shape of a bull's horns, but to imitate its bellowing. The great epic of Cuchulainn centres round two bulls. In the 5th century AD, St. Ninian's bull, with the aid of Ninian's magic, killed the leader of a raiding party, and the Picts, whom Ninian partly converted, assembled more than 30 powerfully evocative bull carvings at Burrowhead in the 8th century AD. Later again, in 1678, to secure the recovery of his wife, Hector Mackenzie and his son sacrificed a bull on St. Maelrua's Island in Loch Maree. More recently, I myself have seen a stretched and preserved bull's foreskin in a butcher's house in Italy, hanging beside his hearth. We can see easily enough that the side-blown horns are in the shape of a bull's horn. The end-blown horns are extensions of these, using the same moulds. As for the Bronze Age rattles, they are hollow, pear-shaped objects cast in bronze in the shape of a bull's scrotum or testicles. They're the same size and even feature the puckering of the skin at the top. Each one has a small stone or clay ball trapped inside, made invisible by the apparently seamless casting. It's this ball, or seed, within the husk of the bronze testicle that makes the noise. The delicate tinkle the seed produces when the instrument is shaken would then be an assurance of the vitality within. But one or two of them have no stone to rattle. If such a thing is possible, then they are silent musical instruments. Did the craftsman forget to put in the seed, the most vital part of all? Or did the silent empty ones symbolize castrated oxen used for ploughing, or simply sterility? Those were the original rattles. Now for the largest of the original bronze horns, also getting its first public hearing since it was buried nearly 3,000 years ago, and I can tell you it was a thrill to be involved in its awakening. If we accept a religious function for the instruments, then the cathedrals of those times are indeed the proper place to hear them in. In fact, one of the horns set up what is known as a standing wave, in which the natural frequency of the building is set in motion by the sound of the instrument. It's a phenomenon which can't be reproduced on tape. You feel it in your feet and your stomach. And it was very surprising, as the irregular shape of the chamber makes a standing wave most unlikely. But a megalithic tomb is a remarkable place for music making. The acoustic is as dry as this BBC studio, and it's also as insulated from the outside world. Like this studio, it admits neither sound nor light. A priest in there, in the pitch black and utter silence, for any length of time, would achieve a strange state of being. Waiting perhaps for that one moment in the year when the sun penetrates the inner sanctum at the winter solstice, he might well greet it by breaking the silence with horns and rattles that symbolize the regenerative power in animals, just as the sun and the fertilizing quality of sacrificial blood symbolize the regenerative power of the soil. But it's time to find out how these instruments are played. And since Simon O'Dwyer is the only man in the world who plays them, it's only from him that we will get any useful answers. Simon, will you first of all tell us what you've actually got there in your lap?
I've got an Irk, Bronze Age Irish trumpet, side blow trumpet. This one is a replica of an original that resides at the moment in the Ulster Museum in Belfast. This one is an exact copy.
And how was the thing made? Was it made the same way as it was made in the Bronze Age, and what's it made of?
It's cast in bronze, but it wasn't cast the same way because the sculptor by the name of John Somerville, who cast it, couldn't do it the same way as they originally made them, where they used a clay mould in 2 bits and then a core through the centre, and then they poured the bronze in one go to make the instrument. He couldn't do that. He had to use the lost wax method, which is making the instrument out of wax and then dipping it in ceramic and then firing the ceramic to burn out the wax and then pouring the bronze. And he actually had to make it in 6 pieces and weld them together because he couldn't get it light enough. He couldn't get it as light as the originals in one go.
And is this simply because of technical difficulty that the Bronze Age people were better at it, quite simply?
Yes, much better at it. Mm-hmm. He was totally blown away by the level of skill involved at that time, which is lost now.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you tell us about the bore of the instrument and the length of it?
It's 2 feet long. This particular one is 2 feet long. It's conical from 2.5 inches at the mouthpiece to a point at the closed end. It looks like a cow horn, and it's got a mouthpiece cut into the side of it about 2.5 inches up from the closed end, which would be the pointed end of the cow horn. It's the inside bore. This one actually is quite rough because it was made by the lost wax method. It should be smooth, and this affects some of the notes that I play in it. It makes them harder to play.
So you find the originals easier to play. Have you ever played an original of one of these?
Yes, I have. By very kind permission from the Ulster Museum and from the National Museum in Dublin, I've been allowed to toot a few tunes on a couple of the original ones, which was a great honour. Fantastic. And they are much cleaner, sweeter sound.
Now, when you're playing the side blow, you're actually putting your whole mouth into the hole. Your lips are inside the hole in the side of the instrument. You're not blowing across it like a flute.
No, you're blowing into it. Yeah.
Right into it. Can you now tell me about the end blow?
The end blow it's 2.5 feet long. It's actually 6 inches longer than the side blow, and it comes from the same mould, except that there's no mouthpiece in the side of it, and there's an extra extension onto the end of it with a flared mouthpiece at the end, an inch across, approximately an inch across, and it's slightly choked down to 3/4 of an inch in the case of this instrument.
Is that comfortable to play?
Yes, very, very comfortable. Very comfortable to circular breathe. It's because it's so conical. It's very easy to get the relative, to toot the relative. And when you sing into it, the harmonics from your overtones that you're singing are minor harmonics. So that gives it a lovely edge.
You have there in your hand right now an original Bronze Age horn. Can you just comment on the shape and configuration of that instrument?
Oh, this is my favourite, this one. This is the largest of them all. It's 4 foot 4 inches long, and it has a beautiful... It looks a little bit like a bass saxophone. It's about that size, but it has a gorgeous curved line to it. It starts at the mouthpiece and then goes down to the bottom of the instrument, and then the bell, it comes to the bottom and curves up, back up at you again.
In a sort of U shape.
Beautiful curved U, a lovely flowing line to it. Mm-hmm. Fabulous design, you know.
One of the first people that attempted to play these died of it, I gather, burst a blood vessel. Why aren't you dead?
Because I learnt the didgeridoo, and I approached these right from the start with circular breathing, which means that I can, before I did anything else, I could maintain a note without too much effort, and I had plenty of practice with the armature. Sir Robert Ball, who died in 1857, he, I would imagine, attacked it very, very hard, too hard, and it is very easy to get a build-up of pressure in your head. I can understand how he did it. He probably didn't realise it was going to happen.
The circular breathing, how do you do that, and where did you learn that technique from?
I taught myself originally on a bit of plastic pipe, because I heard a didgeridoo on an Irish traditional album, and I reckoned it was the sound for the tradition, the bass sound, the best bass sound. So I just started blowing this plastic pipe about 4 feet long and about 1.25 inches in diameter. And I knew it was there because I'd heard it being done, but I couldn't find it. So eventually, after about a month, just one day, it just clicked.